I'm Kevin Klein. Welcome to Inside Winnipeg Politics. I'm joined by Winnipeg Sun columnist Royce Coop, who is also a professor of political science at the University of Manitoba, and Jeff Currier, another one of our Winnipeg Sun columnists. Today, gentlemen, something that has been really heating up in the city of Winnipeg, and I think it's a very important discussion for us, is a piece of private property that people refer to as the Lemay Forest. Now, we've had several stories, and I've had a couple of columns at the Winnipeg Sun about this topic, and there are a lot of people commenting. There are a lot of people engaging on this, and most of the engagement has been it's private property. Since when do people get to tell private owners what to do with their property? So what's happened here is a gentleman has this incredibly large plot of land in Winnipeg. They've applied for a permit to build housing, which is desperately needed here in the city of Winnipeg. The permits or the development got denied, so they're now appealing that. But it got denied, I think, for political reasons, because the councillor saw all the people getting heated about it because the folks that live in that area have used this vacant land basically as a park, as a place to go walking, a place to take their dog, and they don't want it to be built. They want it to be theirs now. Nobody from government has made an offer to purchase this land, but now there's protesters, and they're stopping the landowner from cutting down some trees in preparation for building something. Maybe it's not the magnitude that they wanted to, but they get to build something. What are your thoughts on that? Are we heading down a very slippery slope, Jeff?
I think so, Kevin. If somebody owns a piece of property, they have to, of course, get proper zoning and proper approval if they're going to develop it in any significant way. Uh, what the reasons are that the people at City Hall would refuse this proposal, I don't know, because I haven't seen the proposal, so I don't know. But in terms of the people blocking access to this piece of property by the rightful owner, that's a problem. And there was in fact a court injunction granted, and these people still haven't vacated. They're still, the last I saw, we're still making it very difficult for the rightful property owner to have access to his own land. And the Winnipeg Police Service is not enforcing this court injunction. So we're kind of at a stalemate. And it does say, who owns this piece of property, and who gets to decide what happens to it? Now, again, there's a private owner. So the local residents who happen to like to use this place don't own this property, don't have a say in what happens on it. City Hall does, and we can debate that at some point, or you can always, reasonable people can disagree as to what should go on this property. But the fact is that the people who live in the area don't own this property.
Yeah, and I think it's starting chaos almost, right? You have a group of people that are ignoring a court order. You have the police not wanting to enforce the court order. What's the point? It's becoming a lawless situation there. You have city councilors that are playing politics now. You have councilors saying, "Oh, we're going to buy the land," but you haven't made an offer to buy the land. You have other parties coming in and making, their comments about it. Now all of a sudden there's birds at risk. None of this was a factor for the last 100 years of this being private property. And my fear, Royce, am I wrong? But my fear here is that we're going to set a precedent that is going to scare away investment from the city of Winnipeg, but also a very bad precedent when it comes to governance.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, I conflicted a little. I mean, I'm a big believer in green spaces. People, families deserve to have accessible green spaces. But in this situation, I mean, if you're in business, if you're a developer, it's not too much to ask to have a predictable, stable environment. And you're dealing with the city, you're dealing with other levels of government. You should expect to be treated fairly. And if there's a sense that politics is getting involved, people protesting, people can sway governance, they can sway that kind of environment, then that's terrible for investment. It's also terrible for people. These are a lot of these people, they're not billionaire development companies. They're small developers. They're people with their life savings that tied up into these projects. And it creates a terrible atmosphere for people to do business and to build housing, which we do want more of in this city.
I mean, Jeff, come on. You've covered politics and news in the city of Winnipeg for a long time. The mayor is silent on this. In fact, it's like he doesn't exist when it comes to this issue. They're all sitting back. If the city of Winnipeg wanted it to be parkland, should they not be forced to just buy the land then? Now, when I was environment minister, let me tell you this, I put towards $1.5 million because I knew this was an issue and wanted other levels of government to match it. Well, the city wouldn't match the 1.5 million. They didn't want to match the 1.5 million. And I was told, not from the mayor or anybody's office, but that they didn't have the funds to take care of a park, nor did they have the desire to take care of a park. So really, isn't it the city of Winnipeg here that has dropped the ball because you either give the permit or you buy the land?
Well, yeah. And as you said, Kevin, we need housing. Everybody knows that there's a shortage right across the country. And certainly here in Winnipeg, we need some new housing. Here's somebody who's ready to do a housing project. You know, if you were a real estate developer or a builder, would you want to come and do business in this town? And it seems we put up blocks no matter who wants to build anything here.
Yeah, and Royce, finally, I want your thoughts on the police not doing their job. And I was the chair of the Winnipeg Police. I have a lot of respect for the Winnipeg Police Service, but really, if a court, issues an order, do we not have an obligation to enforce that order as per the letter of the law?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the police have some discretion about, how quickly to move in, how much force to use. And in a lot of situations, they won't kind of go in gangbusters right at the start. But, ultimately, if there's a court order, they do need to act on that. And the longer that goes on, it creates a bad impression. People can't act in ways that are contrary to these court orders, and they shouldn't. We live under the rule of law, and we should act accordingly.
But we have seen in the past, on more than one occasion, police forces, not just here but elsewhere, refusing to enforce court injunctions, railway blockings and intersections blockings and all that sort of thing. So there's precedent for not enforcing the law. But in a case like this, it seems pretty straightforward that this individual owns this property and is being denied access to his own property. It seems pretty cut and dried.
Seems cut and dry, but
Yeah.
I mean, come on, the police, you're right, Jeff. I mean, there are lots of examples where the police haven't enforced court orders. But then what are we paying for? I mean, again, I got to go back to the fact that that just starts to create a lawless society. We see one or two of these protests. Now we're seeing lots of them, to your point. We've seen more than one. We've seen more than one here. And they're getting out of hand in a lot of ways because they are ignoring the law. And is that not the basic societal needs, Royce? We have to have law and order, or we just become a lawless society and live in chaos.
Yeah, the police should enforce these court orders. I think when it comes to kind of operational questions, like I say, like you go in gangbusters right at the start and you have a soft touch, maybe that'll fix the problem. I do think the police, have discretion to do this. Sometimes it's better to solve these problems without bringing in the horses and the batons right at the outset. But ultimately, you have to enforce the court orders. We live under the rule of law, and that would certainly be my expectation here. Is that if different approaches don't work, ultimately you do have to enforce the court orders.
Well, let's hope the city of Winnipeg does something on this one, and soon, because it really is embarrassing.